This vehicle can fly forever. It doesn't use any battery at all, and as you can see, the energy cell icons don't even show up. Infinite flying machines have been around for a while in Tears of the Kingdom, but they've always had major drawbacks, like requiring complicated setups and glitches, terrible steering and maneuverability, and requiring so many parts that they're never practical to use with auto build. But this powerless flying machine is finally the answer to all these problems. It's made of only 5 parts that are all easy to collect, and can actually be steered pretty well once you learn how to use the controls properly. Today, I'm going to show you how to build it for yourself. The first place we'll want to head is the Ijo-O Shrine or any other location that you can find a flux construct. The blocks that make up the body of a flux construct have a special property that make powerless flight possible, so we'll need to collect one. There's a sky island directly below this one that has one of these bosses. You don't actually need to defeat it, but shoot the glowing block to make it break apart. Once it does, you can fuse one of the blocks to either a shield or a weapon. Our next location is the Gemimic Shrine on the Swirly Island just outside of Terrytown. Here we can find the propeller for our vehicle, and just like before, you can fuse this to either a shield or a weapon. And the last thing we'll need is a spear-like weapon. Pretty much any should work, but I found the best success with a pitchfork, which you can find at the Riverside Stable. If you need one, teleport to the Tajikot's Shrine, and there's one behind the horses at the stable. Once you grab it, you'll have everything you need to build the vehicle. So next, we'll want to head over to Terrytown. I always keep my travel medallion there for quick access, but you can just as easily get there by teleporting to the Rasatakawak Shrine and flying over. Head over to Pellison at the Break It Apart shop. I'd always recommend putting down a hard save before talking to him. That way, if anything happens to your materials, you can always reload the save and get them back. Pellison can separate your materials from your shields and weapons for the cost of 20 rupees each. So you'll want to break down your equipment that has your flux construct block and your propeller. Once they're separated, you can grab them with Ultra Hand and set them off to the side. After you've done the same thing with the propeller, you can glue them together for easy transportation to the construction site. To get there, we'll grab it with Ultra Hand and walk over to the rail cart. Just remember not to hit the rail cart with something that could break it, because that will despawn all your stuff when the guy goes to fix it. But ride down while holding all your stuff in Ultra Hand. Here's everything that we'll need to build the flying machine: a steering stick, pitchfork, construct block, propeller, and small wheel. The steering stick and wagon wheel you can find here for free at the construction site. To begin building, we'll fuse the propeller to the center of the wagon wheel. This is what will generate thrust and make our vehicle fly. Tilt the propeller towards yourself at a 45-degree angle. Our goal is to fuse the edge of the wheel to the front of the cube. You want to line it up with the center of the top edge, and you can use the indents in the cube to find the center. Once you have it in the right place, the next order of business is to attach the pitchfork. It should be oriented with the pointy end facing towards you. And again, we want to attach this to the center of the cube, but this time at the bottom edge. You can use the green shadow that it puts on the propeller to line it up in the center, or look at the pattern that's on the cube itself. But before fusing, lift it up slightly so that the pitchfork is barely off the ground. The reason for this is a little bit difficult to explain, but basically the special properties of the flux construct block only seem to work if it's the main part of the vehicle touching the ground. The last thing we need to do is attach our steering stick. It seems strange, but the steering stick should actually be facing right when we're looking at the front of our vehicle. And you want to attach it directly onto the blades of the pitchfork. Once you have it in place, take a look at your flying machine from all angles to make sure it looks correct. Your propeller and pitchfork should be centered on the cube, and you'll want to make sure that the wheel is at this angle. Once you're satisfied with your placements, give it a test drive. To start it up, you want to hold completely forward on your control stick. You don't want to try turning until your propeller has a chance to get up to speed. If it starts spinning like this and you hold to the left and it doesn't straighten out, that's a bad sign. It means we need to make an adjustment to the vehicle. In my case, I needed to move the steering stick a little bit farther up the pitchfork and forward slightly. And this time, when I held forward on the control stick, it did wobble a bit, but once the propeller got up to speed, I held slight left and it straightened right out. At this point, you're free to fly wherever you like, but there are a few things you should know about steering it. You'll need to hold forward on the control stick basically the entire time you fly it. but by holding forward and slight left or slight right, you'll be able to steer it in those directions. The controls take a little bit to get used to because the vehicle naturally wants to turn right more than it does left, but after messing around with it for a bit, you should be able to get the hang of it. The only downside to this helicopter is it doesn't have a good way to descend. You can always hold back on the control stick to cut power to the propeller and fall out of the sky for a crash landing, but I think it's a small price to pay for a vehicle that uses no battery. Even if you haven't upgraded your energy cells at all, you can get basically anywhere with this thing. Losing it isn't really a big deal because you can always auto-build another one for only 15 zonaite. That's barely more than a hoverbike. And the fact that it's steerable is really rare. Most powerless vehicles that use a propeller will lock up whenever you try to turn to the left. All around, it's a pretty practical flying machine, and you don't have to be an expert at the game to build it. There are some pretty breathtaking views above Hyrule that you can check out by flying super high. And it's even possible to get all the way up to the sky ceiling of the game. Now please enjoy the short montage of the infinite flying machine in action, along with some gorgeous scenery. If you guys enjoyed this video or I was able to teach you something, leaving a like would help me out a lot. I make new Zelda content all the time, so subscribe if you don't want to miss out. I have other Zelda tutorials on this channel like how to build a rock climbing car and a mech, so check one of those out next and I'll see you there.